Hello, welcome back to another NFL update for NFL Week 7. And let's just get right into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the Denver Broncos because I am a Denver Bronco fan. And they may have just played in the craziest game in the last, 10 years. So let's just talk about that. They trailed 19-0 going into the fourth quarter. And, doesn't really look like a game they should win. And then they're down 26-8 with 5 minutes remaining and they still managed to pull off a win. That's incredible. They scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. I don't know how many times that's been done before, but I know they said for the first 3 quarters being shut out, that's the most points ever scored in one quarter. So, that's pretty cool. But they need to play better. You're not going to be able to do this every single week, especially against teams. You're going to face teams that are better than the Giants in the playoffs. And that's not a sustainable way of winning. So we'll see what they can do next week. Of course, we're going to get more into some of the other games around the league. Let's go on the Lions versus the Buccaneers. Lions held control majority of that game, mainly thanks to Jahmyr Gibbs and his incredible running back play. He had an 83-yard touchdown. That's incredible. He's fast. He's probably the fastest running back in the league, and he's a hard guy to stop. And then next would be someone call the Unk Bowl with Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers, and this Bengals do come out on top, but both quarterbacks played really well. I'm interested to see how this works out in Cincinnati because I don't know. Their defense is so terrible. Their offensive line's bad. They have this old quarterback, but he's been able to do it before. We saw it a few years ago with the Cleveland Browns, so I'm just kind of curious to see how that works out. And then Seahawks Shine versus Seattle, versus the Texans. And the defense just dominated the entire game with big turnovers over and over again. And I think for the Texans, they have one of the best defenses in the NFL, but their offensive line is terrible. They have a lot of things they need to clean up. And the Broncos play them in a few weeks, so I'm interested to see how that game goes. And then the Eagles end up bouncing back after losing to the Broncos and Giants in back-to-back weeks. Jalen Hurts threw 3 touchdowns, and I think to end the losing streak, they're not in any sort of trouble. They're still the Eagles. They're still one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best team still in the NFL. We'll see them back in the playoffs. They're not going any sort of where. And then I already talked about the Bucs a little bit in the Lions game, but their offense could not get on or stay on the field. Watching that game, I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback in more pressure in my time. He was constantly under pressure the entirety of the game. Then now I'm gonna talk about some other things that aren't related to the games, just kind of give my opinions on it and kind of just go through the motions here. And so at the end of the Bronco game where they won, with that game-winning field goal right after, you can see Dre Greenlaw run up to I don't know if it was the head referee, but he's notoriously not a great referee. But he goes up to him, said something. They have not said what he said. I'm interested to see if they do, but he's been suspended 1 game. Hopefully that doesn't screw the Broncos over. I'm hoping. But he comes back for 1 game and he's suspended. It's cool. There's a lot of emotions. I get it. But, you kind of have to stay away from that stuff. The ref is probably soft anyway, so. Then the 49ers cannot avoid injuries again. And then so their rookie defensive end or defensive tackle, I don't remember what he is, Mykel Williams, he goes down for the season. That team is just so riddled with injuries. I don't know what to think. I think Christian McCaffrey's sacrificing everybody else on his team so he can stay healthy. But no, I'm curious to see when Brock Purdy comes back. I feel like every week they say he's good to come back and he just doesn't come back. So I guess we'll see what happens there. And then the Giants, staying with the Bronco game, the Giants collapse. I'm interested to see if their head coach keeps their jobs. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but I know his name. Yeah, whatever. But I'm curious to see if he keeps his job. That's very interesting. But, I mean, their future is bright there. If they can keep developing Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo, I mean, they got two studs on the offensive side of the ball. Their defensive line is great. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on with them that is going well, but I think the coaching needs to change. There's so many different things they could have done better in that fourth quarter to avoid a team letting them score 33 points on them, but that wasn't the outcome today. And then the trade deadline coming up in, I think, 2.5 weeks. I think it's like November the 4th. I believe it's November 4th. So I'm kind of interested to see. I've seen a lot of things with Breece Hall. People talking about him going to possibly the Chiefs or just at the contending team that needs a running back like the Bears or something. Max Crosby, I heard, might be shipped out. Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Quinn Williams, coincidentally, 3 of those guys are on the Jets, so I'm curious to see what the Jets do because they're obviously terrible. I guess we'll see. Trying to think of some other teams. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, I've heard stuff about. I mean, there's a lot of players that could be going on the move, but every single year they always hype it up. A bunch of people don't make trades just because, there's a culture in the locker room. And sometimes when you go out and get a guy to fill a hole, I mean, unless the hole's, terrible. Like, if you get, I'm just going to use an example. If you go to the Broncos and you trade for a defensive player, that's going to put a hole in the locker room and the team chemistry because they have the best unit in football, and they're disrespected in a way. And they a lot of teams have good things going for them that are winning games. So I mean, there's not really a reason to go out and make a trade that could possibly ruin some relationships in the locker room. But there's definitely always going to be some trades made. Like the Colts need help in the secondary. That's an obvious hole there. That's the reason they lost to the Rams. And then the Chiefs, they need a run game. So if they trade for Breece Hall, they're back to Super Bowl form, and they already are playing like they're in Super Bowl form again. So, I mean, I guess you just kind of have to go with the flow, see what happens. There's not really much going on this week. No insane games other, obviously, than that Bronco game. But, it was a pretty good, solid week of football, just watching it on Red Zone. But, yeah, that's about it, and I'll see you next time.